Good afternoon. My name is Ted Griswold, and I work here at Potter's Ranch in the food service. And today I'm going to be sharing a recipe with you called Aussie Chicken. Aussie Chicken is a recipe that I found on the internet, but I've made some changes to it, kind of made it my own. And so that's what I'll be sharing with you today. It's one that I make here at the ranch from time to time, but also it's one of my family's favorite recipes for chicken. Before we get into the recipe, I just want to share a verse from the Bible with you that I've been chewing on for the last few days. It's one of my favorites, but it's been a good one for me to revisit, especially during these times recently that we've been going through. And it's from the book of Lamentations, chapter 3, verses 22 and 23. And if you know anything about Lamentations, it was written by a prophet named Jeremiah. He had a pretty rough assignment. He was told to go tell Israel a very difficult message they didn't want to hear, but the Lord still wanted him to go. And so they persecuted him pretty badly, and he had a rough time. But this is what he says in chapter 3, verses 22 and 23. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. And in those two short verses, you see a lot of characteristics of God's character that are so pronounced. His steadfast love. That means it's there for good. It's not walking away. He's always in love with us. There's no falling out of love. It never ceases. There's no end to it. His mercies, those never come to an end. He is merciful to us and way beyond what we can really even imagine. His mercies are new every morning. God is timeless. He's outside of time, but we live that day to day. And so he understands that. He gives us new mercies every morning. And then the prophet changes from third person to first person and says, great is your faithfulness. We can understand faithfulness to a certain degree as humans, and we value faithfulness in another person. But God's faithfulness, way beyond that. And so Jeremiah is just appreciating these aspects of God's character as he's contemplating life and what he's been through. So I hope that's an encouragement to you. I know it has been to me. And I want to encourage you, too, to stay in his word, whether we're going through a crisis or not, either as a nation or as the world. Now, as for today's recipe, let me start by telling you that I've got in front of me some chicken breasts, boneless, skinless chicken breasts. I've already taken the liberty of seasoning them with some Canadian chicken seasoning, Montreal chicken, basically the same spice blend. And this has been sitting in the refrigerator for a little while. Let the seasonings kind of work their way into the meat. But I'm going to be doing some baking with some bacon. Bake some bacon. Cook it in this skillet. And what I'm going to do is I've got this on medium high. And while that's cooking, I'm going to prepare a sauce that we're going to be putting over the chicken after we've seared it in the pan. So first step, I season the chicken, put it in the refrigerator, start the bacon, get that cooking, and then I'm going to put together a sauce. Now, I've got 4 pieces of chicken plus a small one. The sauce I'm going to be making is enough for between 12 and 16 chicken breasts. I usually like to make it in a larger quantity and then use it the next time I make this recipe, so I don't have to remake the sauce every single time. It keeps well in the refrigerator, and it just saves a little effort. So I'm going to start with a cup of mayonnaise. Yes, this is an unusually large jar of mayonnaise, but remember, this is a commercial kitchen. I can hear that bacon sizzling. Just a little bit more here. I'm going to put it in this mixing bowl. All right. Next, I'm going to add to that some honey mustard. I'm looking to do about a 1/4 cup of honey mustard. And if this bottle doesn't have enough to make a 1/4 cup, I've got another bottle ready to go. There's my 1/4 cup. Mix that right in with the mayonnaise. And next I'm going to add to that some honey, make it even sweeter. Looking over my shoulder at the bacon, I'm going to need to turn that soon. Well, let's first get some honey going here. I'm using 1½ tablespoons. Another way of measuring that is sinking 4½ teaspoons, whatever works for you. And for a smaller version of this, it's easier to get it out of this measuring spoon. All right. ½ tablespoon. Okay. I'm going to set this down and tend to my bacon. Now what I'm going to do when the bacon is all cooked, I'm going to transfer it to this pan over here and let it drain. Turn down the heat a little too. It's actually a little hotter than it needs to be. Now I'm going to leave the bacon drippings in the pan, and we'll use that to saute this chicken, or to sear it rather. All right, so it's going to cook a little while on that side. While it's doing that, stir up the sauce. Now, because I'm going to want to use this sauce more than once, I want to be careful that I don't dip my brush into the sauce and then onto the chicken and then back into the sauce, because then I'm contaminating the sauce with the chicken. So what I'm going to be doing is spooning it onto the chicken. But that comes a little later, after we get this seared. Check on the bacon again. That first side cooks so quickly, the second side, likewise, very quick. A little more done than I would like, but I think it's going to be acceptable. All right, and we'll be using that a little bit later. The next thing is to sear the chicken. Turn it down a little bit because it's really pretty hot. But it's good that it's hot. I want to sear. I'm not going to keep it in there that long. I just really want to start the cooking process on both sides. Okay. I prepared this pan already, gave it a dinner spray of cooking spray, also put a little seasoning in the bottom, salt and pepper blend. Okay, I'm gonna move this back over here. Then I'm gonna put the sauce on it. So again, I'm gonna spoon the sauce onto the chicken. Basically, I'm gonna want enough to cover each breast piece, but I'll spread it out with the pastry brush here in a moment. And I'll just save the rest of this for a future use. Just gently smoothing it onto the breast. This will give it wonderful flavor, but it also keeps the chicken nice and moist. And because we've already cooked it part way, it's not going to need a lot of time in the oven. Now, depending on your oven, it may take, I'm going to be using a convection oven today, so I'm anticipating between 15 and 20 minutes bake time to get it up to 165 degrees. At home, usually it takes me about 25 minutes. It's just a conventional oven back home. Works fine, it's just different. Next, I'm going to break up the bacon and lay that on the chicken breasts. I used 6 pieces. You can use however much you want, but that should give me plenty for covering these chicken breasts. I might even have a little extra. Yeah, just a little more on that. All right. Lastly, I'm going to top with some cheese. This is just a shredded cheese blend. If you use just a cheddar cheese, that's fine. Whatever kind of cheese you like. I tend to prefer something a little, like a harder cheese, maybe mixed with a softer one. I wouldn't use like a really soft cheese like mozzarella. That's not really the kind of cheese you're looking for in this recipe. I'm going to get some tongs. This would have been a better way to start off anyway. Okay. And then basically it's ready to go in the oven. I will cover it. That will also help keep things nice and moist. So I'm going to cover it with foil. I think I'm going to set my timer for 10 minutes. Then I'll turn it. And when it's about done, we'll come back. So my timer's gone off. I'm going to check the chicken, see if it's ready yet. I'm going to pull it out. using an instant read thermometer so I can get an accurate temperature on the chicken quickly. Oh, it looks good. And I want it to be at least 165, and that cleared 165. And I'm going to check another one just to be sure we're there. Yep, these are just right. So in my convection oven here at the ranch, that was about 15 minutes. But again, it might be a little bit longer if you're cooking at home. Now, just as a plating idea, as you go to set this on a plate, I might suggest sprinkling a little parsley on the chicken before you do. It really makes it pop, makes the dish really pop. And let's see, trying to find something here I can take this out with without disturbing the toppings too much. There it is. This goes really well with chicken or it goes well with chicken. It goes well with rice and vegetables or potato, whatever you like on your plate when you make chicken. Hope you've enjoyed this week's recipe. Now may the God of hope give you all joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of his Holy Spirit. May God bless you, and see you next time.